seriously. And if there is a protest, a protest next weekend, I want to go. I want to go, and I want to be there for my daughter and for all the daughters, for all the women in the world, because I think enough is enough. And yes, I have a friend who's been a serving police officer with them for 20 years, and she's always said to me that discretion...
Keep the car to your side of the road.
Yeah. And there was no discretion there. There was no common sense. There was no... This is not a proportionate use of police power. And at the end of the day, they police by consent. And I think a lot of people are feeling very, very angry today.
I'm just looking as I listen to you on the TV screen in my studio here, and that footage of both the scene you described and the one I just described is up, and it gets more shocking every time I see it. It really does. And I'm so sorry you had that lovely Mothering Sunday overshadowed by that, but did you have a nice day as well, I hope?
I did, thank you very much.
A 5-year-old's not, yeah, a 5-year-old's not going to let you not have a nice Mothering Sunday.
Thank you very much for letting so many people talk about it.
2 lanes, both of them turn right.
Really
the first lane that turns right, which is this one here, it goes towards Bradford city centre and Bradford. The second lane, the one on the right, as in the far right, it goes to Leeds. 2 lanes, both of them go to Leeds. So if you go in the right side lane, when you get to the roundabout, it's the lane on the right, which then becomes 2 lanes. This lane is the first lane that turns right from this junction. When you turn right, it will give you the option of Bradford city centre or Bradford. You'll see. Make sure nobody's busting a red light. So keep the car to your side of the road, and I'm going to stay behind the lorry. So the lane on the right, the black car, that lane goes to Leeds, but some drivers will try go to Leeds from this lane, so be very careful. So I'm going to stay in my lane, which is the lane on the left. Now did you see the lorry? The lorry did a mistake that I was telling you about. So this lane, I can go in the far left lane, that goes to Bradford city centre, A647, and this lane goes to Bradford around the back of B&Q. The other 2 lanes go to Leeds. So I'm in the correct lane for Bradford, and I'm going to follow the road round. Look at the floor markings.
Everyone's heard of My Pillow. After all, they've sold 50 million My Pillows worldwide. But here's our best offer ever. Buy 1 My Pillow, get the second My Pillow.
Remember, traffic can flow up and down this road. And if you look at the floor markings and look at where the trolley is, that's another road here. So traffic can flow up and down this road as well. So make sure it's safe before you drive into one of the bays.
And I'm passionate about empowering consumers. If you currently own or have owned a Mercedes diesel vehicle made between 2009 and 2018, you might be eligible for thousands of pounds in compensation due to their alleged use of emissions controlling devices.
The car has a blind spot detection system, so if it bleeps, just make sure that you see where the car's coming from. The door mirrors, the lights will illuminate whatever side the car's coming from. Then look at the floor markings and follow your way out.
To the boss of many overnight. That's why we're offering 10 SIMs, each with unlimited calls and texts, for just £20 a month. That's only £2 per SIM. Search 3 Business Boost. Offer ends 26th of March.
2 gigabytes of data per plan, available to first 2021 businesses. Annual price changes apply.
Are your savings getting the interest they deserve? Take a look. Rock bottom interest rate.
Yes, always watch out for them.
But it does mean now could be the perfect time to start investing. better time to get started. If you're ready to pay attention to your money, visit wealthify.com or download the Wealthify app. Offer closes 9th of June. Terms and conditions apply. Remember, when investing, your capital is at risk and you may get back less than you put in.
This is a new announcement by TTP Financial Compensation. Following our success assisting clients of the MI Group and Lincoln Financial Group, we're extending our claims management service to anyone who purchased a freestanding AVC pension following advice from any insurance company or bank between 1988 and 1996. Text TTP to 60075. We can find out if you qualify, even if you no longer have the policy or policy details. Don't delay, as time limits may apply. Text TTP to 60075. It is possible to present a claim yourself for free to the firm concerned or through the Financial Ombudsman Service. Sheila Fogarty on LBC.
With Curry's PC loan.
Watch out for large vehicles turning into this road.
Cutting-edge tech.
Or for pedestrians.
I'm conscious that we have together on air been talking a heck of a lot about this issue of sexual harassment, sexual assault, of the story of Sarah Everard, and it's distressing. And I know that it throws up, many of us throws up stories that we've forgotten about or wanted to forget about. Let me give you those numbers I gave out on Fridays, but in case it's getting a bit much for you and you do it, it has thrown things up for you. You want to talk to somebody, Susie Lamb, we trust, advice for victims.
Today, you'll find on this road, normally there's two lanes. So you'd land in the lane on the left, this one here, and we'd have the lane on the right, which is where these bollards are, these cones.
Refuge Domestic Abuse Helpline.
And once you'd turn left at the traffic lights, you'd be careful that you don't fall into their lane, and if they've got a large goods vehicle, they don't come into your lane.
And the Survivors Trust, which is a specialist rape and sexual abuse service. Helpline 0808 801 0818.
So you'd remain in the lane on the left, this one here, and follow the road round. Make sure nobody's coming through a red light or an emergency vehicle.
Holly has called from Bradford with a very, very difficult story to tell. And thank you for calling us.
Hi Sheila. I felt I had to ring in to talk to you about my experience of the justice system as a victim of rape and sexual assault. So 4 years ago, I was violently raped by a total stranger. And as you can imagine, it was your worst nightmare. And I did all the right things that, you know.
As we go down this road, as we go over the traffic lights, you may find vehicles parked in the lane on the left. Also, people slide across lanes, like this taxi driver's done, just to get in front of a couple of cars. He's gone across 2 lanes. It's completely normal driving. The van on the right has just done it behind me. So you've got to keep an eye out on traffic. Watch how people drive, especially taxis. Now all these guys in the lane on the left, where this black taxi is, they're going to come into your lane. The taxi driver's about to attempt it now. He'll do it in a couple of seconds. It's very important that you're aware of these drivers. So it's important that when you're driving this car, that you see what's going on and you keep your speed reasonable. A reasonable speed would be what you perceive, that you're not holding people back and adjusting your driving for the conditions that you're in. We're now going to turn right on the roundabout. When we turn right on this roundabout, when we go past the second exit, we need to push the car to the left and follow our lane round. It's important that you, when it's safe to do so, that you quickly push your car into your lane, you stay into your lane. If you don't, you'll end up causing an accident and you'll forfeit your driving test. So we stay in our lane, which is this one here. Look at the floor markings, and we're going to slide the car to the left here. So we're in our lane. Then glance in the right door mirror just in case somebody wants to cut across you when they're going to Asda. Normal driving, normal behaviour of people in this area. They know the area better than you, and it's a rat run. Speed limit on this road, national speed limit, dual carriageway. Everyone else can do what they want to do. Speed limit is 3030.
You put your faith in the police and they're going to do the right thing, you know, investigate it fully. And
Which force was it?
Now the speed limit sign's still rubbed off, so it's still 30.
yeah, I'd rather not disclose that.
I am not going to be on many people's cards Christmas list today.
To the point where that months later I was raped again by a friend this time, and I didn't recall that, and I haven't even spoke about
So it
that
is what it is.
recently with all this going on. I hadn't spoken about that second rape until I couldn't. I wasn't believed before
Until last week you hadn't spoken about the second.
about the second one. Yeah,
And who have you spoken to?
my partner. That's it. And now, well, people listening. I mean, my experience it's not exclusive. You know, people could be listening in and think, oh, what's from raped twice? They have been addressing it.
I don't know whether you saw it, but that's one of my worst nightmares. If you didn't see it, you are not a good driver. Rewind it back and you'll see it. That's one of the most scariest things I've seen in my life. Now I signal from around here. Before I go onto that slip road, I make sure that the car that's coming out has a reasonable amount of time. So I'm looking in my left door mirror. I'm not going to go in yet. I'll go in around now. I can clearly see that lane. Adjust your speed for the speed limit.
And how are you okay? I mean, I keep saying that people call such dreadful stories like yours when, you know, a lot of it is unresolved, isn't it?
I am currently about to start some in-depth counselling regarding the issues that obviously caused. But I am using my own dealer. I am an anonymous quality salesman. That's because I am not ready to put my name to what's happened to me. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be using that voice and putting my name to it in future.
You need to tell it to yourself first, don't you, and absorb it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's my story on top of my lack of faith.
Yes, well, you know, twice in that brief, I don't know if you heard that brief clip we played of Boris Johnson saying women need to have confidence.
I'm going to turn right at the roundabout. So I'm going to start around here.
So I really don't feel that. I was too, I guess, I was struggling at the time. Obviously, that had just happened to me. So, I mean, when I'm being told that the charges are dropped, it's just in one ear out the other. I couldn't process it. And I still can't. Yeah, physically and...
Keep an eye on the van on the left.
Well, Holly, thank you so much for telling us about it, because I think it reveals a heck of a lot about what women do face and what women face when they report these crimes and what they face in life more generally. And I'm really pleased that obviously you're talking to people who love you and will protect you, and you're getting professional help as well. isn't the caller's real name, because she made clear that she wanted to remain anonymous, as is the location, Bradford. It's not where she's from. But that story speaks volumes, doesn't it? Absolutely speaks volumes. A couple of texts before we go to the break. I'd just like to say my 18-year-old daughter was stalked by an ex. The police were absolutely brilliant with the whole situation, so it's not all negative, the way the police deal with these things. It was the Met, says Jackie in Pinner. Thank you for that, Jackie. I'm certainly not suggesting that the Met is totally bad. I'm not suggesting that all of the officers on Clapham Common were bad or got things wrong. Not all of them have. But I think they've been let down by their leadership, is what I think. And I know the policeman who called earlier on didn't want to comment on the decisions taken at the top of the tree, but the decision taken at the top of the tree about that vigil and about Reclaim These Streets wanting to work with the police, have a marshalled, organised event, hand in hand with the police. Why the heck didn't they just
Nice and easy, just in case somebody's coming through a red
I don't
light.
understand it. COVID isn't sufficient reason. Other protests have gone ahead at the height of COVID. No vaccine on the horizon.
Speed limit hasn't changed yet.
Infection rates at the time. And we saw Black Lives Matters events go ahead. We saw sporting celebrations go ahead. Why didn't they just stand alongside the women from Reclaim These Streets and the women who turned up for the vigil? Why didn't they do that? 2:45.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. LBC. Crime and Policing Minister Kit Malthouse. Shouldn't the Commissioner have apologised?
Well, that's a matter for the Commission, and everything they did on Saturday night was focused on protecting people's health.
Half a dozen people arresting a woman in her mid-20s. How's that helping everyone's health, Minister?
To keep them free of injury is to use 4 or 5 police officers to make sure that they do.
Handcuff them. That woman posed a risk, did she? To other officers or to herself?
Look, I wasn't there on the night.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings.
It's a road used by horses as well. So if you see any horse riders, you need to be careful. There's your horse rider.
Facing our biggest challenges yet, COVID and climate change. So once again, we stand together, empowering every person to be their own change. Search Christian Aid, I Am Change, and be the change the world needs.
John's laid back Easter lamb.
To stop the days rolling into one, I tried something fancy this Easter. Little Easter lamb. First I toast the spices to release the aromas. Then add them with some tasty butter to the paste. Once the meat caramelizes, it just falls off the bone. And because I do it all the night before, we eat our Sunday morning in bed.
Whatever you're cooking this Easter, Tesco has everything you need to help you celebrate. Food Love Stories, brought to you by Tesco.
We've bid farewell to the average working day and waved goodbye to the average working rhythm. So say hello to a new working beat. With a high-tech touchscreen cockpit, connect with your new day-to-day. The new Caddy Cargo isn't your average van. So get ready to deal with a very unaverage future. The new Caddy Cargo, for whatever comes next. Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles. Discover media system and touchscreen available as optional extra.
Are you an Uber driver? Or did you drive for Uber any time between 2015 and 2021?
Again, you're looking out for any horse riders or possibly cyclists. Now you can actually see to the top of the road from here. So if you're looking in your line of travel at your vanishing point, you'll already be aware.
Holiday pay. To find out more, visit driverclaimlawyers.com/radio or text Uber to 600-66.
Get brilliant broadband at a brilliant price because superfast fibre is now $24.99 a month for 24 months with a $19.99 setup. With BT, you get the speeds we promised or £20 back with our Stay Fast guarantee, powerful Wi-Fi from our smart hub with a Which Best Buy, and more online security than any other big provider. So, join BT today. Offer ends 20th of March. CPI plus triple accent increase each March. £32.99 for month 25 and £20 BT reward card if you can't fix speed in 30 days. To verify, email superfast.fibre@bt.com. Terms apply.
It's closing. A long way clear. Just this final hole to take. Can she do it? The four-timer is on. Eddie Power and Ruby Walls clear as they turn into the home straight. Eddie Power.
Neither of these horses actually finished. If your horse doesn't finish for any reason, you get a free bet back. Available on every race at Cheltenham. Carlo, 18 plus UK alignment online and phone applies to first run money single weight each way bet of £1 or €1 plus per race from ATM and South Race Days. Maximum £10 free bet per race. All T's and C's are called to go to UK when the fun stops. Stop.
Sheila Fogarty on LBC.
With Cody's PC World, great tech that's connected to our planet.
I will read out those support line numbers in a few moments. Before 3, I'll read them out, and I'll tweet them again in case you need that was a short while ago. Before that, Matthew Thompson, LBC senior reporter, is here to talk about a really concerning development in terms of individual nations' attitudes to decisions about the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is playing currently such a big part in our vaccine rollout here. And I certainly have confidence in it. The MHRA has confidence in it. The government has confidence in it. Germany, though, Matthew, has become the latest of a number of EU countries to pause the rollout of AZ.
Again, keeping on people's social distancing. Sometimes they may walk onto the road.
Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine with immediate effect. That's following advice from the institute that has advised the German government throughout the pandemic.
Oh, you might come across this.
And it joins, you're right, a number of other countries who've done similar things. The list includes Ireland, the Netherlands, Denmark, and
Well, that's a new
Norway.
one.
And all of this comes, Sheila, after a review by the Norwegian Medicines Agency found 4 instances of serious blood clots in people who've been vaccinated. There's also
Speed limit changes.
blood clots in a vaccinated person having been reported in Denmark. But the almost unanimous view from UK experts on this is that there's absolutely no proven link between the AstraZeneca jab and blood clots. So let's put it this way, Sheila. Blood clots are a fairly common problem. Things like embolisms, deep vein thrombosis. There are about 3,000 a month in the UK alone from various causes. So let's say, hypothetically, if nobody in the UK was vaccinated, you'd expect to see around 3,000 cases of blood clots every month. If everyone in the UK was vaccinated, you'd still expect to see around 3,000 a month. So it's very difficult to say that there's definitely a causal link. People who get vaccinated and then die of blood clots could very well have been going to die anyway. And we vaccinated several million people in the UK so far, and there isn't any evidence of an increased frequency of blood clots occurring in those people. And whilst the countries who have stopped their rollout have stressed that it's just a precaution, well, there are those, Sheila, who say that acting in an overly cautious manner like this actually risks undermining the success of the vaccine rollout. And I just want to leave you with some final figures which illustrate this quite nicely, I think. AstraZeneca have said they've done a review of the 17 million people across Europe who've had the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. And there have been 15 cases of DVT, deep vein thrombosis, and 22 pulmonary embolisms. So both conditions that are caused by blood clots. So if you work that out, quick back of the 5-packet calculation, that's about...
Now this lorry that's ahead of us is reversing, but if he was pulling off, he wouldn't be able to see you.
In the rate of blood clots in
The
the
Sainsbury's
general
lorry.
population. But let's do a quick comparison to the risk of dying of COVID. So your risk of dying of COVID depends on your age, but on average it's about 1 in 100,000. And that's without thinking of the people who get very sick or get long COVID. So 0.2% or 0.2 in 100,000 people getting blood clots, 1 in 100,000 is your risk of dying from COVID. So even if there was evidence that it was the vaccines causing those blood clots, which I stress there is not, but then the risk of COVID would still be much greater.
Thank you, Matthew. Matthew Thompson, LBC senior reporter. It strikes me that these countries that have done this, Germany, Ireland, the Netherlands, to name three, it strikes me that they've just lost their nerve about it, or their regulatory authorities have lost their nerve about it. Such small numbers what Matthew was just explaining there, people who are vaccinated can still walk out the door and be hit by a bus. People who are vaccinated can still get heart attacks and blood clots, and this is where the false connection was made between MMR and autism. The timing of the MMR jabs and the natural timing in which autism starts to appear in children, because it's at that developmental age when they should be starting to speak and don't. And people made wrongly a causal link between the two. It looks to be happening here as well. Matthew, thank you. Matthew Thompson, LBC's senior reporter. Before I get back to your calls, let's just remind ourselves, and I'm going to speak after 3 with you as well about the same topic. Let's remind ourselves what the Met Commissioner, Cressida Dick, has said since Saturday with regards to the vigil and protest when she spoke over the weekend.
None of us would have wanted to see the scenes we saw at the end of yesterday's events. Worth saying, of course, I fully understand the strength of feeling. I think, as a woman, and hearing from people about their experiences in the past and what they feel about what happened to Sarah and what has been going on, I understand why so many people wanted to come and pay their respects and kind of make a statement about this. Indeed, if it had been lawful, I'd have been there. I'd have been at a vigil. And 6 hours of yesterday was really calm and peaceful. Very few police officers around, respectful, people laying flowers, not gathering, and a vigil that did not breach the regulations. Unfortunately, later on, we had a really big crowd that gathered, lots of speeches, and quite rightly, as far as I can see, my team felt this is now an unlawful gathering, which poses a considerable risk to people's health, according to the regulations. A really invidious position for officers to find themselves in, but they then moved to try to explain to people, to engage with people, to get people to disperse from this unlawful gathering, and many people did. Unfortunately, a small minority did not. I completely recognise that they are, particularly in this last year, often finding themselves in very, very difficult situations. They are policing during a pandemic. Nobody wants a third wave to happen. It's only a few weeks since the NHS was on its knees. They have a really difficult job. They have to make fine judgments. They often don't have infinite information or all the time in the world. They have to make these really difficult calls. And I don't think anybody should be sitting back in an armchair and saying, well, that was done badly, or I would have done it differently.
That was Cressida Dick, the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. Let me read this text. It was interesting when she said, I'd have been down there except it was unlawful. So presumably she thinks that the Duchess of Cambridge broke the law on Saturday. This text says, so bear with me, it's from the mother of a serving police officer, a woman. Goes to work, she says, to serve and protect the public. She gets hit, kicked and spat at equally by women and men. I don't know what actually happened to kick things off on Saturday, but the government can't send out our officers telling them to go easy one day and hard the next just because they do or don't like the cause. Well, except we've seen that happen. That's the problem, I'm afraid. We've seen them going easy and then going hard. They didn't go hard on the Black Lives Matter protests. They knelt with them because they were doing intelligent policing.
Here's another one.
Arguably, I know some people thought that was unintelligent policing, but I'm not.
They can't see around the corner, but the flare around the corner.
But there's so many examples of the Met standing with the population that they're policing rather than standing against the population that they're policing. And I know I'm not a police officer, I know I'm not an expert, I accept that, but I am a citizen and I am a reporter who's been in all kinds of tricky, extreme situations over the years. And I've seen good policing, I've seen bad policing. I've seen smart policing, I've seen stupid policing. And I'm afraid Saturday night was stupid policing. Part of it was stupid policing. The most stupid bit happened 3 or 4 days earlier when the Met decided it wouldn't work with Reclaim These Streets. Wouldn't go along with and support and police a properly marshalled event. It was cold, there were no public loos available, it was a vigil, first and foremost. It would have been over by 9 o'clock. Most of the women there would have gone home by 9 o'clock for the reasons I've just described. Some of them had their kids with them. Lots of them had their kids with them. The Duchess of Cambridge, for goodness sake, showed up at the thing. So it was a stupid decision made not by the officers on the ground, but a good few days before that. More of your calls and texts and tweets after the news.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 3 o'clock, Downing Street says Boris Johnson has full confidence in the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. It follows criticism.
If the first light goes amber, you will need to stop by the second. There's ample time. You're driving at a reasonable pace. Traffic light's green, possibly go red on you.
Something about it. Listen to what women are saying to us, and men should be part of this. We need to speak up and demonstrate that we're confident that change is needed.
The Labour leader has called for the government to pause plans for more police powers to restrict demonstrations. The controversial police crime sentencing and courts bill is due to receive its second reading in the House of Commons later. Campaigners say the legislation poses a threat to democracy. Ministers say the current rules need to be updated. Germany has become the latest country to temporarily stop the use of the AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine. It follows reports of a small number of blood clots in patients in Europe. The UK medicines regulator and the World Health Organization say there's no evidence of any link. The European Union has started legal action against the UK over the Northern Ireland Protocol. It follows the government's unilateral decision to delay the introduction of new sea border checks on some goods. EU leaders say they're prepared to enter constructive political discussions. And British stars have been named in every acting category in this year's Oscar nominations. Riz Ahmed, Olivia Colman, Daniel Kaluuya, Vanessa Kirby and Sir Anthony Hopkins are among those in the running. For the first time, 2 women, Chloe Zhao and Emerald Fennell, have been shortlisted for Best Director. Also in that category is Lee Isaac Chung, whose film Minari is up for 6 prizes.
The attention and all the interviews and all that, it